That's 7 bays down there. This is Dauncey's place and their home. And we'll be making this movie on how to build a log home yourself. Purchasing logs, putting in the foundation, and doing the rigging. Setting the rigging up. There's the spar pole. And we'll be uprighting that. We'll get down closer and show you how to set it up, what cables you need on there, and the snatch blocks or pulleys. Over here, some other logs we're using for a well house and so forth. We'll show that. Give an explanation of how much the foundation was. What they bought. We figured the average diameter of the logs in the middle is 16 inches. And for a 30 by 36, 3 walls, I figured it out to be 56 logs. That'll be a log wall here, short wall, another interior log wall here, an end log wall here, and the 2 long walls here and here. They put a 3 foot by 10 inch concrete footing down here, and a 10 inch wall here with a crawl space and another crawl space in there with the venting. And all this is to county code. This is Lincoln County. They had them go to quite a heavy foundation because they didn't really have a standard here in this county. So that's a 10 inch wide wall. And these logs we bought at Nispelum. They're from Casey Nissen. They are pine. They were standing dead. They were in a burn, and we'll have to clean them up a lot, but they're pretty good looking logs. They'll look a lot better after we get them cleaned. And you'll see how we clean them later. We bought 56 logs for $10,500, I think it was, plus the haul fee of $1,200. The foundation, $10,895 for the ponderosa pine. These over here, paying $500 a 1,000 board feet. And then the tamarack over on the other side, large, over there, paid $1,500 for a truckload of 60. The concrete footing, concrete cost $75 a yard. 32 by 38, it was $4,840. The floor materials was $3,800. Dirt work, $2,600. Septic system, $2,000. Well, drilling and installation, $4,180. Land, 20 acres, $18,000. But let's go down and take a closer look at it. The span was too large here, so too long across from here to here. So we had to put a center support beam in. It's a pre-laminated beam, goes across with posts as the county asked us to put them at the distances apart. Then hangers for the pre-laminated beams for the floor joists, all the way across, 16-inch centers, all the way across. The mud sill sits on top of that. And down there you'll see how the pre-laminated beams sit. They hang in the hangers. The hangers are nailed to the top of the mud sill. They'll be going 16 centers across. So, you have to pour your footing. for the walls. Put your mud sill on, put your hangers in for your floor joists and your intermediate support beam. Then go ahead and put in your rigging pole. Now what I've done down here is dug a hole in the ground that this beam will sit in. This beam has on the top of it a pulley, 2 tie-back cables. We'll look at them from a different direction. We're going to upright this so that it is our rigging pole in the center of the log home. We're pulling the logs up. Okay, what we have here is a cable run off to the left and one off to the right. Let's run around the top of the spar pole twice. Those will tie back to this corner over here and to this corner over here to keep the pole from pulling away towards the logs when we pull them in. The pulley here is chained around the top. One end will go down through a pulley at the bottom and out through the crawl space to the back of the caterpillar. The other end will go out of the top of the pulley over to the logs. It'll pull the log straight over to the side of the log home, then up on the wall. Let's take a look at it from the side. Now you'll notice I have a long bolt. I drilled a 3/4 inch hole through, put a long bolt all the way through, then put the cable above it. So when this pole goes vertical, then this cable will be above that and it won't slip down the pole, and neither will the upper pulley. As well, with the cables that are going through the snatch block or pulley, we're going to pull it vertical, this, then secure it with the cables, and the cable will come down out to the bulldozer. In other words, it'll come in from the bulldozer through the crawl spaces up the bottom of this spar pole, through the upper snatch block or pulley, down to the logs over here. We'll be cleaning those logs up. Those logs will be pulled over here in position. The first log we'll pull over is the half log, which we'll be slicing in half to start the sequence properly. Well house we built. We're building to get in practice for our notching over on the larger log home. And it kind of gets you used to the chainsaw again and get familiar with what's your methods and sequences. You can see they're pretty good looking logs. These were those large that were over in this close pile here. They look like that, but then when you draw shape them, they look pretty good. So don't be too skeptical of logs. When you look at them and they look like they're dirty or filthy or discolored, you can draw shape and make them look like this here. There's pretty good looking logs there. Well enough for a log well house. You build a log well house the same way you build a large log home. Some of them logs that we used there are large. Some of them are a little bit, some dry rotted in some spots. We had to cut out and get good ones out of there. But the rest of it can be used for firewood. But they clean up real nice for a little log well house. This is up at Creston looking down towards Seven Bays. So, buy your logs. Goes over there. Count up how many you need. Bring them home, clean them up, lay them out, bunk them up so that they're up off the ground. Excavate for your foundation, pour your foundation, put your floor in, then vertical your spar pole, and then we'll be ready to start on the half log. All your plans, figure out how high you want your walls in your house, figure out the mean average diameter of your logs, count up your logs, see how many you need, buy them, place them on logs underneath like this to keep them up off the ground, clean off the knots, clean off the bark, scrub them and clean them, put them close proximity to your building site, because we'll slide them over from here to the front of the log home, pull them up on the wall with this spar pole being vertical, and then go ahead and fit them to the wall. So get your logs in, get your foundation installed, your water and your septic in. Once you have your foundation installed, then install your floor system. Then you'll be ready to start on your first round. And we'll show that next. And we draw shape the logs here with the draw shape to get a nice look on those logs. They're a little higher on the well house. Once the spar pole is vertical, the cable will come down from the upper snatch block to the lower block right by that crawl space hole there. And the cable will come on over here through the other crawl space hole to the outside to the back of the caterpillar. Sorry, from the other direction. Snatch block there through that crawl space over to the crawl space on the far side of the log home and out to the caterpillar. This is an acceptable system. We've got 16 centers, TGIF laminated beams, floor beams, and a support beam underneath over there. Let's go take a look at that. And the insulation lays right in there with the 3/4 ton groove right on the top of it, glued to the prelam beams. Vents, center supports for the beam, the center support for the floor joists, all according to county building code. So just have your county engineer figure out for you exactly what you need. That's that crawl space over there. Yours is next, Paul.
What's that?
So yours is next.
Yeah. 2020.
I think so. Okay, we got our leaning a little bit of attitude towards the work, out towards the logs that are over in the pile. And we'll be blocking it at the bottom here to give it stability, and then tying back the cables. That's probably pretty good for right now. And the cat's going to sit there and hold it in position. We didn't have any trouble getting it in place. Cable up 2, snatch block down, and it'll eventually come out to snatch block the other way to the caterpillar. There's all the people. Hello.
Hi there.
Names?
Marie.
Marie. Paul. Alan. Grace. Agnes. What's your name? Gail. And Kevin. And all the girls are missing out, so that's the group of them.
Yeah, they go. They're upstairs.
Now they just cleaned the place up.
And then on to the rest of the floor and next to half log. Okay, you got to hold the base here. A block right in there to keep it from tipping on over to rest against. We'll be blocking that in real good and then tying back the cables. So let's take a look at hole long enough to deep enough just to hold the bottom in place. And it's between the floor joists on up to snatch block. And you can see we got our bolt through there, snatch block. And that will lift all our logs all the way up to the ridge pole. And we'll saw it up and fire with chunks and drop it out of there.
Oh, yeah, she come out yesterday after Kevin left.
Well, we're going to try it with a pickup, get it up there, Wes, ready to run the pickup. And we got the log laying out here between the 2 ramps and the cable coming from the lower snatch block on the gin pole. And we're going to try to pull this one end straight up on and across the wall. If not, we'll have to use the motorhome. Okay, Wes. No, wait! That spar pole's leaning a bit. Ain't too bad. Okay. Now we'll just try to slip her on the rest of it. We'll choke her back further and then bring her on over. I think you almost got her there, Wes. Why don't you go ahead and give her a couple bumps?
Couple bumps, go up a little further.
Yeah. Okay, hold it. Okay, what we've done is sawn a log in half, which I'll add in. That's a previous scene that I put on a different film. Picked a log, 36 feet long, sawn it in half, put the large end of it this way here, and the large end of it that way down there. On this center wall, I cut a half log there. This will be a center wall going up in here. This center wall, I put the direction the same as this direction over here. If the large end was that way, the large end of this half log will be here that way, because it's closer to that wall. So we want that sequence of this log wall running with that log wall. Okay, here, once we have the half log down with insulation and tar paper underneath it and aligned over the edge of the log wall home, we secured it down with bolts. We'll go down and show you that. Then, if this is the large end of the half log on the bottom first course, the small end of this long wall log will go over the top of the big end of the half log. On the back wall, we'll have the big end over the small end. So that's the big end of this back front wall here. We'll go over the small end of the half log. The back wall here, the small end of this log will go over the large end of the half log. And we'll just be scribing there, scribing there, scribing there, marking them, rolling them up, and notch them down. So let's, it wasn't too part of a job getting them up on there. We're going to use a Caterpillar right over there to be pulling them up from now on. We've been using that pickup with a lot of weight in the back, but just don't do it. Two-wheel drive. Those logs are pretty massive, pretty good size. And you can see the half logs. Let's go down and take a look at them. Pretty nice logs, pretty impressive. Got a real nice burl there. As you can see, we've got the small end of this large log over the top of the large end of the half log. Let's go down and see how they're secured. Working on it, I just haven't, since Wes's been down from Alaska, we've been sticking pretty much with the main house. It'll be a pretty nice place though when we get done. And those logs there on the wall were just like these. They looked as dirty as these, but we cleaned them right up. There's hardly any checking in. Down and dead, ponderosa pine. And we got burnt in a fire. Bark falls up easy. Dress them down, get the knots cleaned off of them real good. And they'll come out looking like those over there. Those still got to be cleaned some, but they're looking an awful lot better than these over here in the pile. We have is the small end of the large log over the large end of the half log. Half log goes right here. There's tar paper underneath. Wood life, both the top of the decking, the underside of the half log. Put tar paper down and about 2 inches insulation and squeeze it. It'll squeeze it down to this thickness. Now see here where the log is going to notch over. We've cut out this slot and we lag bolted through. I have some through bolts clear through underneath with big washers on the other log. There's another one down there, but they'll be hidden by the notched over larger log there. What I'm going to do is roll these logs in position until I get the straightest edge in, the straightest out, top and bottom. With the straightest edges top and bottom, the curves go in and out this way. That way it'll hide easy in the V-notch. And over the small end, we'll be setting our scribe to the distance between the floor and the log. And then holding the scribe vertical, coming up on a cross like that, make a mark from the pattern log. These bolts go through clear underneath, 1/2-inch bolts. You go underneath, and we got nuts on the bottom underneath the floor. And another one right over there. And when this upper log goes over the top of it, the V-notch will cover that area where I've got that bolt relieved, area where it's relieved where the bolt is. Done that in 4 places. And what I've done is to keep it from these from getting knocked around when we bring up the big logs. Right there, you'll notice there's a difference in the type of logs because I used a half a log here and then sliced it in half and used half over here and then half there, half over there. And all we have to do here is there's a door opening here, so this will disappear. But when we put the next log down, we'll just V-notch right over that bump, and it'll match to it And when we cut out the door, it'll all come out, all of that. So we don't have to worry about it. And the rigging pole seems to be doing all right. I have to readjust one of the blocks, but going down underneath because it's getting a little binding. But it seems to pick these big logs real good. So next we'll roll the big logs in position, scribe them. Huh?
It come out good.
Think so, huh?
I think so.
This is just a rough first notch down. And Les is getting a little practicing on the scribing. The most important thing is to keep your scribe plumb and vertical, parallel with the log, pattern log underneath. And at the edges of the left and the right of the notch is where you want your most concentrated efforts to be proper, so that you don't get a big wide gap there. Down there you'll see he's setting his scribe to the distance between the log and the floor. You're going to pick the shortest distance between the inside and the outside and say scribe to that distance. And go ahead and scribe it on over. We're not using any special scribe or anything. And you could lose levels and all that other stuff, but a lot of them get in the way, and it's pretty hard concentrating on them, let alone just scribing. So I just got myself used to using just a scribe without the levels and everything else. They get in the way when you're getting in tough situations or whatever. Now he's going to mark it. He's got the pencil mark down. Now he's going to mark it in with the felt marker. This is Wes's first time at scribing, I think. Isn't it, Wes?
Yes.
So, you see, and even I'm not worried about it. We can't mess it up. We're going to be doing another scribe and notch down after this to get the log closer to the floor, get a nice tight fit to the outside.
Go to the outside.
Yep. I usually just go out there and straddle that log and go clear out the end of it.
That's a good idea. All right.
And kind of keep the scribe right in between my legs. And you just take your time and not worry about it too much. Very simple scribe.
Okay, Jay, give me a hand here.
Okay. That's, marks just like firewood. Knock out the excess chunks with a hammer. And then go ahead and she has safety glasses on, gloves. It's like when you saw me drop the saw there, you know, don't try to grab the saw, you'll probably get up with a cut finger from the sharp chain. So, that's all you do, just cut it down like firewood and to the line, both sides. Come down to the line on the bar head side, which is in your hand. Come down with it down to the line, stick your dog in, and then bring down the nose of the bar on the other side to the line. Very simple. And we'll start gnawing it out. You'll see a little of that later, lots of it later. It's a tight area right in here. We'll have to relieve right there at that point. And a little detective work. You can see it's clear along here. So what's going to happen is when we relieve that there, this will drop down a bit. Over there, this in here is a little tight in here, holding it up. And along here, on the bottom here, there's a lot of interference there, so, which is holding that end up. I think if we block her into position so she doesn't rock, so we have the same height, like an inch there and an inch on the other side of gap, then go ahead and scribe it at 1.5 inches, maybe 2 inches. Then we would probably relieve all of that, and we wouldn't have to roll it up twice. So we just rock her in position, get her in position as best we can there, and then go ahead and scribe it, or go ahead and fit it down tight before you scribe it if you want. But I found out I can do it both ways. Good, Kevin. It's pretty tight. I relieved a lot of those knots that were along there. It's reasonably tight there, and tight down there. I think there's one bad spot where it's a little too tight, but we'll see. Pulling up this one big log and then notched them all, scribing and notching them. It's not even noon yet, so, you know, it don't take that long. Right there. So there's a little touching up that has to be done in notches, or just go ahead and jock it into place there and go ahead and scribe it. And it'll be looking pretty good. Looks pretty good already. But we'll be taking her down with a semi V-notch to get her close to the floor so we have a nice tight fit. So we'll be scribing it one more time, then fitting it down, going ahead and insulating and wood lighting. Looking pretty good though. Morning work there. Half log, half log, half log, full log, full log. This half log, 1/2 inch over the edge, 2 feet hanging over the other each side. With the big end this way, small end this way. Then with the first full log, we have the small end over the big end, and the big end over the small end. Big end there, over the small end of the half log. Very simple. What I'll be doing now is picking the next 3 logs for this wall, and this wall, and this wall out of the pile. Over here, I will pick the 3 next logs to go that direction and the 2 log wall, front and back wall. So I'll pick the 3 short ones first. That'll be, the wall is 32 feet, so we want 2 feet extra on each end, 36 feet. We want a 36-foot log. We'll get 3 of them. Probably our biggest in the wood pile with the least amount of taper. So I'll pick them out. Put the largest of the 3 logs. Those 3 that we picked for this wall, this wall, and this wall, we'll pick the largest one. Go over on the, if this had the highest amount of meat here to lap over, the biggest one would go here. And sequentially with the rest. So we'll see that when we pick them. That's all for today. A little windy, kind of nice, cleans up the sawdust. Okay, what we've done here is this first full log here. When we had it sitting on top of the half log, we scribed it, set it down close to the floor, or notched it down, set it close to the floor. Then we took our scribe, set it at 1 inch, scribed down the side, up over each notch, up over top, all the way down, up over, down. Then it left a mark along the bottom. And what it's done is left a semi-V. We rolled the log up, cut out the semi-V notch, and then placed tar paper on the floor after wood knifing the floor. Inches, about 2 inches insulation. Then rolled the log back down, aligned it with the edge, hanging over a little bit, and nailed it down, spiked it down. You can see the log is still rounded here, but it's flat up there. See, the log is rounded here, and you know that we sawed off that much off the bottom here, just following along the scribe line with our chainsaw. Did this to the back wall and over there to the front wall. Then we went to the log pile, picked 3 logs out of the pile, put 2 of them on the wall, one here and one there, and we put the large end over the small end of the half log, and large end over the small half log. The other end we put the large end this way, because we've got the small end of the half log down there. Then we scribed these logs. I'll go up on top and show you that. Log directly over the top of the half log. Set our scribe to the distance between the half log and that log. Scribe the log. Come to this end, reset our scribe to the distance between there and there, and scribe the log. Then we roll the log up and saw it down to the scribe line. You can see right there. Now we'll knock all these pieces out, knock them all out, and dress them up with a chainsaw. Once they're dressed up with a chainsaw, we roll it back down to where this log is here. You can see this log here is rolled back down after we've taken out the rough notch. And we'll notice there's a little gap in there. It's bumping in here. Now I took the chainsaw and ran it through here to relieve it so that it was setting down, wasn't raising up off that log. And got it setting down. We've got it reasonably close. And we'll notice there's a gap right here underneath. Okay, we want to make sure our scribe is set wider than that for sawing for the V-notch. So I'll set my scribe probably about 1 inch wider than that gap there. So that way there'll be a V-notch right there in that relieved area too. Then we'll run our scribe across the top, all the way down, across the top, around, down the other side, all the way down the other side. Then we'll roll it up and we'll saw down the scribe lines to end up with our V-notch. Then we'll set it down for our final fit. Very simple. It's sawing up. We saw it for fairly narrow notches, so it isn't so hard on the chainsaw when we bust it out, and so it cleans up real nice. But just saw it like firewood. That's all there is to it. Okay, next thing will be the V-notch. That log over there, you'll see it's sitting pretty darn good to the floor. It's fitting nice and flat to the floor. Pretty nice tight fit. These little big logs are a little hard to handle. It's a real tight fit to keep the weather out and keep bugs and mice out or whatever. So you always want to get as tight a fit as you can. And secure them down with spikes. and start up the chainsaw. Get as much of the pieces out of there as you can. Then just work your way back and forth with the chainsaw. Clean it up. Close to the log below so you can scribe it for the V-notch. That's pretty, we'll get a little bit better than that, but you get the idea. Clean these up. You notice we concaved it a little bit, dipped it inside here a little bit like this, so that any knots that were sticking up here on the log will sit down in there. Did the same thing the other end. That's pretty clean looking there. They're dressed out pretty nice, and then it'll be easier to do the V-notch down if we take out most of that meat right now. That meat that was down inside here. So we want to just roll it over and set her down just like we did over in that other one there. We want to remember when we're selecting logs, be a little particular. You want to select logs that accommodate this log here and have enough meat left right there, that distance there. You don't want logs that are going to be notching way down there. So you want to be a little selective when you pick your logs where they're going on the wall. And so you have a good notch over. And then also the next log that goes up along this way, over the top of it, we'll be able to notch it without getting too thin. So you got to be a little selective. Okay, let's go ahead and roll her down. What we're going to do is take this PV here and just roll it on over. Make sure we got our blocks out. The blocks are out. And go ahead and get the PV to her. So go over and just let her fall down on there. Like that. And we'll take a look at it and see where our interference is at. I can tell we got a little interference there because the way it hit down. There's our notch is sitting way up off down there. So we gotta see what's causing that. We look back down underneath here. We notice we have some gap along under here. And all of a sudden it hits right there where that split is because this log is too high. So I'll take my chainsaw and I'll run it through here. But first, I'll block that so it doesn't come down hard on my chainsaw. And I'll slice right in here. I'll slice through there and clear that up a bit and let her down. This end is sitting down pretty tight, but it has to be forced over into position. Now I have little lever bars and pries that I use to flip this up and over and scoot it over into position. But first we want to get rid of this interference before we get the full weight on it and get that end to come down a bit. As soon as that end comes down and gets reasonably close, then we can go ahead and scribe. But the form of the notch looks pretty good. This may not be your cup of tea, but it's what you have to do. Side, do a little bit over there, and then it should be ready. Just take out the 2x4 and set it down. Yeah, I've gotten rid of half the distance here and turned this 2x4 flat sideways, so I haven't got much more to come down. Still hitting along here, but I'll be able to take the chainsaw through there again. Now that's what I mean. If you take your time and roll a log in place so your straightest sides are up and down, you won't have this problem. I didn't pay enough attention and I ended up with this excess gap here. See, it could have been rolled in position and got a better, straighter edge down there along the bottom, but it didn't. These logs could be a lot cleaner. We'll have to sandblast them and sand them and everything else, but the thing is, right now we didn't have the time or the people to do it, and but by the time we get this V-notch out and the other V-notch covering it, we'll only be cleaning about half the log. But pay a little more attention than I did here to getting the straight edges up and down so that you don't have to worry about trying to get it in close by fooling around like this. A lot of wasted time right here. On, I'll be knocking all these bumps flat off of here. I'll be dressing them flat with a chainsaw so that that doesn't interfere with the log setting down the next one up. So there's a few things like that you can do, but we'll be going off and on in the movie here and showing all these different things that slow us down and cause us to take more time. Okay, what I've done is V-notch the logs down. The first time down, after scribing them, they come out real tight. The V is showing here. And that log down there, I Swedish coped it in. It worked out pretty good. And you can see the logs fit real tight. It's a nice tight fit there. We're going to get a sander this weekend and clean them up before I sock them down and spike them down. But it looks pretty good. And the third one down there, there's some interference on that yet. I have to roll it back up and check out. So let's go take a look at that. It's up here a little bit, but it's because right back in here where I Swedish cope, she's riding up right in there. I'm going to have to relieve that in there. And we can see that we're not real tight along here. And as soon as we clear that out, it'll drop right down. Other end, same thing. There's a little pinch spot down there. Clean this out. And the other side is a little bit more like that. And it'll set right down. But still you can see that it's going to set right down tight. Little sloppiness in the knots there, not too bad. And she's fitting real down real tight. We'll have to sand these. I got a nice disc belt sander coming. When I roll them up to wood life them and insulate them, we'll buff all that down. And there, it didn't come out too bad either. And you can see down there where the door is going to go in that it matched up pretty good right in there. So I just scribed right on over it. But they'll come out real nice when we get them buffed up. This one over here is looking pretty good. These are the last two top wall logs here, there and there. And when you do that, you have to make sure they're parallel to each other. When you put them last two wall logs up, you want that log parallel with that log over there. So that your roof boards, once you build up your eave logs, and then cut your angle and put your ridge pole in, you want your plywood to all be the same distance down to the nailer, so they come on square on the roof. But a little bit more to do that. Just put the eave logs in and put the roof on. But she's looking pretty good. And this next week I'll be going on into the top wall logs, the top second round there, second course. And so, right down at 7 Bays and Twin Rivers Casino. Birthday tomorrow. Okay, what we'll notice here is that I picked two logs, one for the back wall and one for the front wall. The one on the front wall, you can see, is quite a bit smaller. On the back wall, we got a big log. What happened is, we had the large end of this log and this log this way here, the small end here. What we needed was a larger log to accommodate going over this larger butt end, or the large end of this log here, because we would have had to notch out more meat, so we needed a larger log here. Backside we didn't have so much meat to carve out, so we put the smaller log. So always put your largest log of the two, the front or the back, or these, on the side that has the most meat to notch over. All right, over there we didn't have a heck of a lot of meat to notch over, so we put the smaller log back there. Here we put the larger log. What happens is you'll take out more meat out of this log for it to notch down over, and consequently when the next logs you put up here, you'll have less to notch over here. back here you didn't have a lot of nuts over, so you left a lot more meat on top here. So it's kind of catching up with itself from one back to the front, or end to end, whichever way you're working. And it takes care of itself as you go higher and higher and higher in the log home. If you keep up this compensation like that by putting the larger log over this larger pieces, it'll take care of itself as you go up. And by the time you get up the top, you'll have almost all the same amount of meat on all corners, unless you're using real gross difference in diameter logs. So let's go down and take a look at it closer. Always put your largest log over the side that has the most meat to be taken out. It has the most to lap over here and here and here. Pick your log, the one for the front, the one for the front, and the one for the back. Buff off all the knots. Set up on them on the top of the wall. Align them with the log beneath them. Clean them up as best you can. Then roll it in position till it's over this log here, but with any curves in the log to the inside and outside of the cabin. You want your straightest edges top and bottom. Then scribe them. Get your rough notch down. Scribe it, roll it up, notch it out with a chainsaw, then roll it back down and see how it fits. And you can see this fits reasonably well. A lot of people stop at this point and go ahead and insulate it, spike it down. But we're going to do the V-notch. So what we have to do is set our scribe so that we can scribe this log so we know how to take out the V-notch. We have lines to follow. What we do in this situation here, you'll notice that it never fit down real well. We could have fit it down further and better at the ends here to make that center could drop down. But since I got the V-notch to do, I'm not too worried about it. I'm going to set my scribe for the V-notch wider than this gap here, because that's the tightest gap, or the widest gap there in the log between down here. Once we've done that, approximately about 1.5 inches, we'll set the scribe. Then we'll scribe along, letting the scribe center itself between the two logs. What we mean is, like right here, your scribe will be touching up here and down here. If you try to hold it level, it'll center itself right between the two logs. So that then the scribe is picking up here and making a mark up here. Then just move down the log, letting the scribe stay in the center between the two logs, because it can't come out of there, see? And then feed right along and scribe the 1.5 inch mark all the way down this side, and all the way down the back side over here. Make sure you have your log in the position you need it, that you want it for its final fit. If you don't, you'll be scribing off in a different way, and it'll come down offset, off to the side of the lower log somehow. So I've centered it pretty well where I want it. And I'll just go ahead and scribe it. And that's what we'll put on here next. Now, can't remember how well I did the notching sequence for this first notch, so we'll get to that next. But for right now, we'll show you the V-notch. How to scribe for the V-notch. Okay, it's just a typical scribe. Not typical, it's I made up. Hold it so it centers between the logs. I've got it centered at 1.5 inches, which is in excess of the gap we showed you inside. You want to hold your pencil not down or up. As you can see, it makes a difference in the height of the mark you leave on there. You can lead if you want, but hold it vertical. And it leaves you a mark on there. You can see it staying centered by itself between the logs if you hold it level, leaving you a nice mark along here. You get to here, and holding it vertical is our typical scribing method. Just go right up over the top. Go over it a couple times to leave a good mark. Now always carry and right on over and down the other side. See, we're holding it level, not up or down, and go right up across and down the other side. Very simple. Scribe right down, leave the mark there. And what I carry with me is a little felt marker pen, and I can just kind of put little marks there in case my pencil isn't showing up too well. You want to make sure you have a clean surface here, a clean surface to scribe on. I haven't had anybody extra people to help me clean logs, so it's been pretty tough. Leave a nice little mark on there, and continue on down the log all the way. Go over each notch, right on down between the logs, down this side, up over with the same dimension on your scribe, down, up over all notches, down this side, and then back in the inside, and back down the other side. Go to the other log on the other side of the wall, and mark it the same way. Hopefully you'll be keeping the same setting, 1.5 inches. That way you'll get the same V-notch. So when we put a mark here, the mark will come out down here, over here, and we'll make a V in there. And that will give us our seat down over this log below, so it fits nice and tight all the way down, and then we'll have a nice insulated surface. And you can see we made our mark here. And just continue right on over with your mark. I like to come in here and come up out with the scribe. And go ahead and touch it up with the felt marker, so you know exactly where you're going to. Now if it rains, it won't distort it. You'll know where your mark is. And if you take a look at that, you'll see it's following the form of this log below real easy. Then just go ahead and run your scribe right on down, making sure you make a mark on it. And I usually move right along. I don't waste too much time. Just make sure your scribe doesn't sink down together, and leave a little mark. You will still have about a 3-inch wide V-notch in here, even though this scribe is set pretty close here. And we'll see that when we get up above. What I do is I just go right along. Actually, I just usually make the mark like that, go back real fast, and then go along with the pencil of the marker later and mark it. And as soon as you get down here, same thing. Hold your scribe level, continue right on up over. You can see we're above the mark there. This is what you want to be real critical at right here at this point. You want to make sure that your scribe is how it's supposed to be. If you don't, you'll get too loose or too tight a notch, and you don't want to roll up these logs, big logs, any more than you have to. You want to get it kind of right, get it pretty right here. This is where you're going to have your tightest fit. So you want this marked pretty darn good here. You want to hold this in the proper scribing manner and make a good mark so it's not too tight or too loose, so that you have a good mark. And you get a nice tight fit on all these corner joints. If you don't, then you're going to roll it back up and refit them. These big logs aren't too easy to roll up. I usually have to use a PV and a pickup. Use a pickup and pull the PV on over. And then just continue on down the log that way, all the way down. Then roll it up and you'll see what the V-notch looks like.
have it set back far enough. You don't want to try it too often. These logs are a little large to be doing that with. Probably the rigging itself up there in the pole, or I'll have an A-frame cherry picker type thing down here for too long to be doing this with and roll them up. Yeah, scribe lines all the way down. You can see that where the gap was underneath the log, it's narrower there. We'll have about 3-inch gap there. Right on down the log. You can see the log is crooked. And that crook goes to the inside and outside of the log home. Now we'll just saw out that V-notch. Cut down the notches. Would preserve it, insulate it, and roll it back down. Now this is a severe looking curve because you're looking straight down the log, so it multiplies itself. That's 40 feet in just that short distance, so don't be thinking that logs are all that crooked. But we can deal with crooked logs. A funny looking butt, but we just scribe like we always scribe. Don't think you have to do anything different. Just scribe with your scribe parallel to the log below you, your pattern log, and vertical and plumb, and you'll get the proper pattern. See, when you're off to the side of the log like that, it doesn't look as crooked. Now, if you want to pay another $20,000, $30,000 for nice straight logs, you can do it, but teaching you here how to use rustic logs and use the logs that you have available. These logs are a heck of a lot cheaper than some you get, even though we have to do more work to use them. Get it down a couple of inches or so, following your line. Always draw a V in here at the 45 inclusive, 90, so I know how deep I have to go. And pretty much follow it first, follow the line first in the waist part. Let it pick up the mark on your left here. And then go ahead and go deeper on down in after you follow your line. So that's what you do. And you don't have to be exact perfect. The weight of the log will put it down in place. And just follow right down the line. If it looks weird, don't worry about it. What the line describes is the inconsistencies of this log and the inconsistencies of the log to below, and puts it in one line, and that way they match each other perfectly when you're done. But don't waste too much time worrying about it. Just follow the line. When you get down to this side, you go down to the other side too. But on the other side, follow this other line down at the angle, like that. And you'll lift out the V and throw it away. I usually look at the H or L or I or something and see how deep I got to go to get this distance right here. So that's what we're doing to kind of get our depth right. Now go down the other side. It should pop right out. A lot of sawdust. Set. Nice V-knot. It's deep enough that any knots that are on the lower log that bump up in here will set back in this V. And this will be deep enough that it'll keep it, and it'll set down tight. So let's go ahead and take a look look at it and finish up the log, and I'll show you how to do the notches too. The notches got to be relieved down a little bit. Pull it on down. I can clean it up a little bit, but that's pretty much what she's going to be like. Okay, all you're going to do here, all you want to do here is take the line down to the line. Take the meat down to the line. The biggest problem with cutting a notch out is usually right here. So scoop way back in right here to get the relief back in here. For some reason that seems to hang up when it comes down on there. So always make sure you get it scooped out below the line and back of here. Down the line here. So back here I want to scoop deeper. So I'm cutting it lower and then I'll ferret in. Yeah. Break the saw. You can see right here that the log is pretty crooked. But you notice this log down here also bows in. And this in here is just the opposite because it's upside down. It'll match right up. When it comes down on, it'll sit right down on it. And let's see, we dished out these notches real good. Clean them up deeper than the marks that were outside. And then put our V's right onto the end. Did that to all 3 notches. Now we'll wood knife it, staple in the insulation, and then drop it down on there and see what it looks like. Took about 2.5 hours. Preservative and $40 for 5 gallons. Brush it on liberally, especially areas that look like they may be a little rotted or whatever, or dry rotting. Log up like this. You want log dogs on it. Some bars coming down that are jammed into here to hold the log in place so it doesn't roll over on you if it's got a bow to it. Or use the PVs as a hold on it, or have the rigging hold it in place. Big ponderosa pine, they suck up a lot of preservative. Put on as much as you can. Put it on liberally. It's expensive, but preserves your logs good. You'll put on varnish or linseed oil mixture later on. And if we get them well cleaned, we'll put on some more wood life. We'll spray the whole house with wood life after we're done. But right now we're just doing all the new freshly scored surfaces. So get it liberally down in here in these notches here. And so no bugs or whatever. Keeps out bugs and the termites and whatever else. And then the rain that's on it, happens to blow in on it, might keep it from rotting or whatever. Just go ahead and do that all the way down. Then we'll insulate it with insulation. Along with your stapler. Make sure it holds in place so it don't fly out when you roll the log down. You don't want it going anywhere and flying out and then have it roll the log back up. You notice we have it filling up the V-notch pretty well and down here into the corners. And don't want to get too much in them corners. Sometimes she's real tight. You can always stuff some in later. Get too much in there and it'll hold you up out of your notch and you won't get a good fit down. Thinned it out a little bit as we went through the notch here. And put it right on down in. Okay, let's see. Now we're all prepared to roll her down. Let's do that. And we'll do that other log over there later. It flips over so fast that sometimes it isn't right on top of the other log like it should be, and then you just weasel it into place with some pry bars. So let's watch this. Nobody's in the way, no hose in the way or anything's obstructing it. And then roll her down. Big logs. And with our pry bars, we'll pry it into place so it's right in line. Looks like it might be a pretty good fit. Go over a bit. Oh yeah. Yeah, just rocking on that insulation just a little bit. That's what you want. We'll get over a little bit more and should have it. Okay, and we'll do the other end, and it should be pretty good. Looks like it's going to be a good tight fit. All I did is weasel her in place, didn't do anything extra. She's looking pretty good out here. Inside the notch is a little loose there. And as more weight comes down from the other logs, this will tighten up a little bit here. So she's actually pretty darn good. I don't think, there's no reason to roll it back up. We'll just go ahead and, there's a little Swedish coped at the end of that. It's not too easy to do when you haven't got all exact length logs. But you can see, pretty tight fit. Not bad at all. And it'll get better as we put more logs on. Or when I spike it down also. Now here's a little bump here. If I take my chainsaw and bump that out there, it'll tighten up a little bit more and come down a little bit, but not bad. See, it's kind of an oddball end there. I just notched right up on over. I just scribed just like I did anywhere else. See? That's pretty darn good. And we'll go inside. A little loose, but she'll come up when we spike her down. But where the V-notch is, see, it's awful good. And the notch is there. It's going over there to that side. And you'll get this good too eventually. and then won't have to roll them up, do all the extra work of rolling a log back up. It's nice to get that good tight fit the first time down, especially when you got these big logs. It's just too much hassle to roll back up. But have to remember that center portion that's going to be covered by this next log going across this way. So if you mess up there on the top, it isn't going to matter too much. But we like to try to get perfect every time, but it's pretty hard to do. But looking pretty good. Slice of V-notch net, clean up those notches down. That notch down there. We have the line drawn out on this one too, see? Looks weird, but I just go with it. You'll be amazed. It'll fit right down there just like that other side. Don't be too critical of yourself and crooked logs. The only thing is they're a little difficult to handle, but you don't notice it if you look onto the cabin, you'll hardly ever see that curve. That's why we put the curve to the inside and the outside. If we had it up and down, we'd have to do a lot of extra work. So just take a look at it and see you just can't notice it. So why even worry about it? It's easy to pick your work apart when you're right on it, but don't do that. These logs are so massive that they hide all little defects. They hide all the little defects whenever you're got them all up. So don't try to pick yourself apart. Just do it. Go ahead and do it. And the log pile's getting down a little bit. And the cabin's going up. What I've done here is I picked 3 logs. The big end of this lower log was this way. The big end of this lower log was this way. So I needed the small end of the top log to come this way. But if we'll remember, this big log here I put on here was awful big. So I had a lot of meat to be notched over there. So I had to pick 2 logs here that on the small end had enough measurement from there to there to accommodate lapping over plus leaving me 4 or 5 inches of meat above. So what's going to happen, I picked 2 large logs here that had pretty much even taper, not a lot of taper. So at the big end, wasn't real big either, because I didn't want that big end so big that the next log I put back here had to be real large to notch over. So what we've done anyway is get enough meat. This is a 14-inch minimum diameter small end here to go over approximately 9 inches of that log that's below there. Down here we picked, of course, at this end we was going to have the big end this way. You can see that's the small end there. I mean, rather, the small end there. So the big end on this log has got to be this way. So I and I didn't have to worry too much because this large butt could accommodate that real easy. So all I wanted to do is make sure that on that far end that I didn't have a real big end there to leave me a lot of meat here to lap over next time. So you keep working these little things out. Right now it doesn't look like that's that large, but when this log is down, it's about the middle of my chest. So this cabin is bigger than it looks. Now you look at it and you say, oh, it's only 2 rounds high. But 2 rounds gets me up to the middle of my chest. 2.5 rounds down here. And I still haven't got anything more done on the little well house. It's coming along. I still have to put on the roof, the log eaves and the roof, but we've got all the materials for that. Okay, let's go down and flop down that end log. Already put wood dye preservative on it, and so so she's ready to roll down. Stay out of the way. Huh? I hope so. Still got to put in line a bit. By the time we spike her down, that gap will close up. That V-notch fits pretty tight along here, and since I cut out that door, that lower log dropped down a bit. So right there, you'll see that the gap, it's not quite as tight as it could be, but not bad. So, and a little bit inside, we've got a pretty nice little burrow there. We got to clean all these up pretty well and varnish them later. Not bad. Not bad at all. Pretty good tight fit. And anyway, that's all you do, one by one all the way up. This one here is almost chest high here, just sitting on here. A little higher than chest. But we clean them up. Just like there, Agnes cleaned them up with a disc sander. They've got a little more cleaning to do, but they're coming out pretty good. That's in position now for the scribe. I'll set my scribe to the distance between these two logs here and here. Then, holding my scribe properly, go up across, make a mark. Go to the other end, set the scribe again to that distance. Scribe mark across and down. Outside. We'll be ready to notch that down for the initial notch. To set it down close to that log below. Then we will scribe the V-notch again. All I do is when we're in this position is make sure that I have the curves to the inside and outside of the wall, not up and down. We don't want to curve this log up and down like this because it makes it so difficult to clean up later to get so we can run a good scribe line down there for the V-notch. So always put the curves to the inside and outside. Let's stay on top of it and take a look, see what it looks like. The log looks pretty crooked, don't it? And that's the inside and outside. But once you're off the side a few feet, you can't even notice it. So it's easier to work with the log that way. So you can't even notice it here. So you always want to put that curve to the inside and outside. Up and down like this is where you want your flat edges. So it'd be easier to clean up down here before you scribe for your V-notch. Get a little door there so we can get in and out of here. It's just getting too difficult to climb over the logs. This log here has a lot of cleaning up to be done yet, but that's it. Okay, on this end wall, this is this short wall over here, right here. Okay, what we have is a small end of this log right here this way. So this log up here, we want the large end this way. And fortunately, I mean, the way it comes out when you're putting up logs, it's falling where this large end is coming over this large end of this log. So what you've got there is enough diameter here to lap over this log here. I did saw off a little bit of the top of this log here. I took off about 3 inches of a swell butt that was there. I just sawed it off. So when we pick our logs, we want to pick and make sure that we have a large enough diameter here that we'll have 3 or 4 inches of meat here left after we notch down. And same thing there. This has got a small end down there, the big end's here, and it will notch over just fine. This will come up about halfway into this upper log. At the far end, we've got the small end over the small end. This log here's got the small end right there, and this log here has got the small end there. So there's not much meat to be taken out there, and it'll be able to turn out okay. And as you notice, we got our log laying straight and flat edge underneath and top. So our log is in position over the log below. Let's take a look close. See? We line it up straight over the logs below as close as we can, and the other end of the log too, over the logs below. And this is pretty straight, so you can see if we step off the side here, it's a pretty straight log. And it's lined up with the log below it. And this one over here, the same thing. Got lots of bumps and knots and everything is cleaned up real nice. And it's lined up over the log below. This log over here, same thing. It's nice and clean, straight to top and bottom, so that there won't be any interference down here when we do the initial notching out here. Now, down here at the far end, the large butt of this log is here, but we'll notice that the small end of this lower log here is that way. So the next log that we go put this way across will have the butt over there. The bottom of the tree, which is a swell butt, will accommodate going over the top of that. So we just make sure that the log pile over there, that we pick a log that will accommodate lapping over this corner. That's to the far end there. So now we'll go into the initial notch and we'll scribe these logs. See, we're looking over a straight line over the top of the log below. Log below bellies out a little bit, but that's okay. This log here is pretty much centered on that log. And we should have a hoist truck here next week to be lifting these logs up. This rigging outfit here is fine, but it makes it a little easier to handle with the hoist truck, I'm sure. Pick your logs, get them on the wall, have them clean, get them in position over the log below, then go to scribing. Okay, all we do here, make sure our log is centered over the top of the log below, and the straight edges of the log are top and bottom. Then we take our scribe, pull it straight plumb, vertical plumb, measure the distance between this lower log and the upper log, and measure the distance between the upper and lower log outside of the notch. The smallest dimension is the one you want. That way it gives us a little excess here that we can cut back into later. If we make a mistake, we can straighten it out. So what we do, set our log, hold your pencil up against the lower side of this upper log, and holding it plumb and parallel to this log here, then we just move gently back and forth till we get a mark and come right on up across, just like that. You don't have to be real particular except right under here. When you first come out, you got to be sure you're straight up and down there. That's a hard a pinching area that pinches a lot. So do that. Come out, up, across, come in from underneath, come back out again, over here, so you're right up to it. And you can see your scribe line there. So your scribe, you want not down or up like this, or down like that. You want it straight out. Level this way. See, they're always level. Okay, take the same scribe setting, go outside the log and scribe on the outside. Then go to the other end, reset your scribe, and scribe that end the same way. That's it. Same thing here. It's a lot wider gap here. You won't get these things perfect this time, this initial notch down. The next time, when you do your V-notch, you'll be down closer and be able to get a better mark. So, set it to that dimension. These big logs got so many knots in them. See, that drops down there. We may not want it as wide. Let's see what we got. Yeah, pretty wide gap out there. Yeah, about right there. And holding it plumb and level, not on this or like this. Right about the middle distance here. And then move it right out. And up and across. Made a few mistakes there, but cross, down, over here, same way, out, up, and across. Go to the other side, do the same thing. And that's it. You roll the log up this way, roll it up, so that these marks are upside down. Then go ahead and saw them down with your chainsaw. That's it. That's very clean log. And you'll see over here, as it's rolled up, taking a heavy black marker and ahead and make the lines darker. There. So go ahead and take your chainsaw, saw it down, 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 every half inch, all the way across that, down to the line. Saw down the line on this side, stick your dog in, bring your sawed out blade down to the line on the other side. As soon as you have a whole bunch of pancake pieces there, knock them out, and then start throwing them in with the chainsaw. Up here it looks weird, but that's the way it goes. And you go ahead and do that. Let's look at the other end. And you got a lot of sawing through to do here. Just take your saw, you ferret in those lines there, because there'll be a break right there. Ferret in with your pencil, your marker. And we'll just be sawing down all the way across, like you've seen earlier in the film. And just put it down there. Now, as we can see, there's going to be about 4 to 6 inches of lap over. See, from there down to there is about 4 to 6 inches of lap over this lower log. So that'll be pretty good piece. It'll work out real well. Nice looking log. Yeah, a lot of deer hunters out this weekend. Beautiful day.